everybody, to another episode of the Nonprofit Show. I have to witness to everybody watching or listening today that if I was in a boat and I was rowing towards a big systems change and I was kind of thinking that the waters were choppy and rough and I was afraid, I would ask these two people to get in this boat with me because I know how frightening it can be to think about a computer change and a systems change and a mental change and all that. And so we're going to talk about this today and how you really take a project and move it forward as smoothly as you can, as safely as you can, without hair and fire moments. Brady Haslebacher is with us today. He's the Director of Program Management with our friends over at JMT Consulting. And Dagmar Dagi Stanton is also with us, and she's the Manager of Education Services at JMT. I've seen both of them work at the Innovate conference, and we'll talk about that later on. But welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks much, Julia.
You know, it's really a huge concept. And I feel like that we're going to talk about this more and more, but I feel like it's almost like a mindset shift. We have to go into change with a different approach. And so I'm really going to be interested in how we combine the tech issues with like the human issues. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, we have a lot of conversations. In fact, yes, last Friday was our 1,400th episode of the Nonprofit Show. And we are able to do this every day because we have sponsors that support us. And they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and again, our friends over at JMT Consulting. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. More importantly, Brady Haslebacher, as I'm introduced, he's the Director of Program Management. And then Dagmar Dagi Stanton, Manager of Education Services. Talk to us briefly about JMT and what it is that you all do. And Brady, I'll have you start and kind of give us that overview.
So as your listeners probably know, JMT Consulting has been in business for well over 30 years, created by Jackie Tiso, who is our CEO and founder. Absolutely amazing. She has been in the nonprofit space for her entire life. JMT itself, we do business consulting first, and that is accounting work or systems change, especially in the ERP section. And what I do as the Director of Program Management, I started as a project manager, and I've just been promoted up until this position. I still do project management. I do a lot of the team management as well as all of our different softwares. I manage all the different projects that we have going on.
So Brady, it sounds to me like you've got to be boots on the ground, helping everybody navigate forward with changes and understanding projects. And at the same time, having an open heart and an open mind to what the new technology and processes are coming forward. It's like a sandwich.
Absolutely. I see everything. I see, the early adopters, the ones who absolutely love it. And then I get to meet with the people that are absolute roadblocks on the other side. And then our team who's trying to navigate that themselves.
Yeah, it's really an interesting position. Now, Dagi, I've witnessed you in trainings where I'll woman up and say, I was at one of your conferences, walked down the hall, went into the wrong room. I was one door off and I saw you doing a training and I was like, holy crap, I don't know what they're talking about. It was a really interesting process and it really gave me a lot of respect for how hard it is to navigate technology and the accounting knowledge and the processes. I was absolutely fascinated. I ended up spending a little time in your session more just to observe how you could communicate and get people trained up or navigating this. Talk to us about what you all do in your group.
Yes, so I love live trainings, whether they're in person or on Zoom, right? Because everybody learns a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so it's true. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm dealing with clients that, for the most part, have been forced to make this change. And they're kind of stuck in their rut, as I like to call it. They love their ruts, especially accountants. I am one, so I can make fun of it. That knowledge has really helped. I was a client at a nonprofit, so that's also helped. So I can understand the mindset, because as a client, I went through conversions, right? And that background has really helped. And so, and I'll get more into the training part of it later, but just being able to read whether they love change. I love change, so I have no problem embracing it. And so just they're coming from a mindset where their four walls are the only things they see. And now we come from a mindset where we have an overview of all sorts of different not-for-profits. And that's really helped. And just kind of knocking them out of their rut, so to speak, is kind of my specialty.
Right. I love it. I'm really fascinated by that, because you said something that kind of curled my hair, and that was, you're dealing with people and an ecosystem that have been forced into this change, and they haven't really probably been involved in what the product's going to be, why the changes are going to be, and then yet they're expected to carry that burden. And so what an interesting way to kind of start off our conversation. And I think we got to ask the question, and maybe just from what you said, it's going to be more apparent, but why do large system projects fail? And I did say product too.
Yeah.
A mistake, but maybe it wasn't a mistake. Brady, since you've been the project manager, how do you view this?
The first piece of this is why they fail is there's a lack of top-down buy-in, especially from the CEO, CFO staff. And to go with what Dagi said, that's where it starts at, is you have people in a position of leadership making a huge systems change without asking, what is this going to do for my employee? How is this going to do it? Or even bringing them into the question, like into the process itself. Is this going to save us time? Is it going to make it harder for us? Those are the questions that they are asking on their own. I've been part of these myself. I spent 20 years in the military. So every single time that there was a change that one of our officers wanted to make, it affected us, and they didn't tell us what this was doing for the bigger picture. It wasn't until I had change management training that I learned that there's a bigger picture to this, and through project management stuff. And so 20 years, I was that negative person off and on, and now I see it with all of these. The CEO and the CFO, they have to communicate when they meet.
Daggy, when you think about this, is this like a, communication and education? Okay, team, it's Friday afternoon. Let's get together and chat. Oh, by the way, we're going to change it on Monday. I mean, like, how long should we be planning to navigate these changes and this piece of it?
So we definitely have an implementation process in place, right? It doesn't happen overnight because there's too much detail that is dealt with or it has to be dealt with. It's a process. And ideally, the different people, like if we're talking discovery, like we have to understand what their business is currently, why are they tracking the data that they're tracking? We deal a lot with data. We track a lot with details. And why are they tracking it? And to the point where I asked so many why questions that a client that came back with a T-shirt where I had the why T-shirt, they had the because T-shirt. And so the big flag is, it's true. The big flag is the right answer isn't because we've always done it that way. That's a big flag, right? So we have to figure out why it is. So we have an implementation team that walks them through it, and then we do the conversion, and then I start training on some of the converted data in a test database. And that's where I continue. I like to call it stirring the pot, because I need to make sure that what was said 4 weeks ago really translates and trickles down to the end users who really know the system. They may not understand why they're tracking what they're tracking, but they may have, a lot of times they have invaluable information that hasn't come out until training.
Yeah, it's such an interesting aspect, isn't it? I mean, how many people are involved in this? Let's then dig down a little bit into this process of project management and have you educate us on the point of a pre-decision. And Brady, I'm going to have you jump in. What is the pre-decision process, and help us to understand how this is a mindset?
One of our clients recently, they just went through the pre-decision process, and the way that they did it is they actually picked their requirements. And so when you're doing a requirements document, and this comes to us, or this is an internal thing, is what do we want to see the most out of the software we're changing to? Is it going to be better reporting? Is it going to be better dashboards? Is it just we want to be able to input data and just have that data live somewhere and, and not have to touch too much to make it work. Some of the legacy systems, they had a lot of workarounds that you had to do, or you had to use third-party services, all that, and anything that goes with that. And so the pre-decision should be your requirements document. What do you need? What do you want? What's hidden? You also want to build that ownership from your staff. And this is the biggest issue is EO and the CFO, they don't have ownership of the system. As soon as they make the big purchase decision and they hand it to the staff, say, okay, implement this and get this working. Without the buy-in of the CEO, CFO, or controller, whoever should be leading the project, they might set it up completely different and then it fails, which brings us back to that initial point is why do big systems fail? They don't have that top-down ownership of the system, and then they don't have that bottom-up want to make something that actually works for them because they want to go back to the system.
Wow, that kind of gives me chills because when I think about these teams and I think about these departments, I have this false sense that anyone can jump on the system and crank out whatever is needed. And I guess what I hear both of you saying is that that's probably not the case. It's more confined, if you will, and that's my word, to maybe a really small number of people that actually understand the system. Dagi, does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, so I actually have some real life examples to that point is yesterday and today. Today, this morning, I was training a new client. They're going through the process. And the staff member I was training, she was one that liked to explore. And she's like, she already had it all figured out because she had the early login information and she went in and did it because she was excited about the change. She loved the change. She just went for it. And so as opposed to yesterday's training where the staff members, several of them, they were not included in the buy-in. They were, here's the system, do this training. They had no clue. They were very resistant. And even though the product is very intuitive, they did not want to do it. They didn't even want to be on Zoom. They had the camera off. You have to make them do the camera on. You have to get participation, all that other fun stuff. So yeah, personality plays a big role.
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking about this. Well, moving this along, and this is not really the way I thought our conversation would go, because I kind of felt like everybody would be on the same page and everybody would be trained up the same. But I guess what I'm learning from you today is that that's quite a different kettle of fish, right? I mean, Brady, you said something that, again, I didn't expect for you to say, and that is the decision makers that move an organization towards such incredible financial and HR investment may never use the software. Is that accurate? I mean, that's kind of like, wow. And yet they're making these decisions.
A lot of the time, especially in the bigger organizations that we see, they have a dashboard where they're just going in and looking at the data. They're just looking at their dashboards. They're looking at the reports, and that's how they're making the decisions. And I'm not a finance person, so I can't tell you if that's correct or incorrect. But when we're building the system, the people that are doing the work are the people that aren't buying the system, and it's really hard for them to do the work and get to that point when nobody else in the organization, is putting in the work themselves.
Wow. So then if that's the case, and that's kind of just, we're going to have to navigate that. Dagi, how do you see this educational piece? Because this cannot be a one and done. I mean, I'm assuming the platforms that you're using, like everything else in technology, there are advances, there are changes, there are upgrades. How do we keep going with this?
So one of the things, well, first of all, my training, I like to make it fun. I like to make, so many of them think that just learning software is just, it's hard. It's, I'm sorry, my mind just went blank.
But painful and dry.
Yes. And so they come in with an attitude, kind of like a teenager. Yeah, they think they know it all. Oh yeah, I know this. Well, so I like to just fake them out. I'm a good poker player, and make them make mistakes so they can see how easy it is to fix the mistakes. Because the biggest fear that I found most people have is they're afraid of making mistakes, because in their old system, it's so hard to fix the mistakes. And this software it's easy. So I make them make mistakes without them realizing that I'm making them make mistakes. I'm lying through my teeth, right? And it's fun. I make fun. It's a fun time. They look forward to training. I build a relationship with them, and that's probably why you saw at Innovate, a lot of them come and say greet all of us, and we like to build relationships with them because they know that we can empathize with them, and they know that we've got their backs. We provide a service where they're taken care of, and they don't have to panic. They get their work done, and it's not a major catastrophe, and it's fun.
Yeah. It's really interesting, Brady, because it sounds to me like so much of this management is actually psychological, right? It's not necessarily the zeros and ones of technology that we think. Talk to us about that a little bit, Brady. When you are working along with your folks and you're looking at a project plan and you're looking at change management, how do you factor in this human element? Because that's pretty hard to wrap your head around.
So it's funny because the position of a project manager isn't just to manage a project. We're also a counselor. We're a psych. We're in the psych. We're a people manager. We're sales. We do a little bit of everything with our position. And so from our training, we have to learn how, change management is a big piece of project management training, along with just managing A to Z on the project, with all the wrinkles and all the wrenches thrown into the system. And so when I create a project plan, and we use waterfall for our project because everything is one step after another. But there can be a lot of what's called agile, which is moving pieces during a project. So you have a staff member leave. We have to go back a step, right? And it's a lot of work to manage people and processes. But as long as I have a good team that does this with me. So Dagi's one of them, and a handful of others in the organization that I can lean on. And if I'm having trouble getting through to a client and making sure that they're on the page, I put somebody else who's better at this engagement, like Dagi, with them. And then that psychological element of I'm just not getting it, I'm not understanding it, they finally start to pick it up. They finally, the project management piece, the project plans, they only get so far. It's all of the other pieces that go into a project that make it work. That's just the building block to it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Dagi, because I got to believe that you're spending a lot of time on the technical piece, but then also holding somebody's hand and saying, you got this, you can do this, or let's have it be fun, as you said. It's something I hadn't really thought about with training.
Yes, that is very, very true. And which kind of is kind of a negative too, because they'll come to me before they come to others, and so it gets a little overwhelming times.
Yeah.
But we've got a really good team, and I can punt it to others, and they know the client. Once they've gotten exposure to the other staff members, they know they'll be taken care of, and it's fine. But we put, like Brady said, some of those building blocks into place to help them out. Like, especially like their big fear is, okay, we're going to go live November 1st, for example. The first thing they do, what are we going to do when we run checks? Well, you've got this. We just walked through this. Let's do it again. And then we're on the phone with them too to make sure it gets done right. So it's the little things, that little customer service that a lot of people are dropping right now, that really helps them out and eases their fears. So the goal is to have a very uneventful go live. That's the goal.
Right. Well, these people still have their jobs. I mean, they're still
Yes.
work. I mean, they have to get, like you said, they've got to run the checks. They've got to make sure that, the donor statements are going and this and that. And you can't just stop the world to transition over. But
Right.
yet you have to, right? You kind of have to do that in order to navigate these big changes. It's such a fascinating concept because again, not where I thought our conversation would go to today, about the human side of this and the personality side, and how you're driving people to do something that Brady said that just like shocked me. They didn't get included on the decision, and yet they're the ones that have to manifest all this change. So as we finish up, how do you get these folks to love the system and to become, for lack of a better word, super fans or champion this process when maybe they haven't really been set up to go into it loving this change? Daggy, let's have you start with that. How do you see that?
Yeah, so one of the things I always ask them is, what are your pain points? What do you not like about your current system? What do you wish you had? And so without them realizing, I make them practice what they need to do, so that when they come in and they'll ask this question, wait a minute, we covered this. What do you need to do again? Make them slow down and think it through. And before they realize it, they love it. They don't have the fear. They don't have to they don't come in the morning and face it with dread saying, oh, I got to get this done. How am I going to get this done?
Right.
Their stress level is dropped down.
Yeah. Brady, when you think about this process, how long does this take? This is not a one and done thing.
No, and we usually time it from the kickoff, from the time that we get all the client team members together with our staff. We're looking at 90 days until just to go live. And after that, I mean, you're looking at another 60 days that we hold the hand to make sure that everything is going well. This is 1 to 2 meetings a week that we have with them to make sure everything is going great. In a normal engagement, you're looking at about 6 months worth of time between kickoff and finally handing them off to our support team. And there's a lot of work that goes into it on both sides, ours and theirs.
Wow. I appreciate you walking us through that, because I wasn't sure what you were going to say. I was kind of trying to figure this out in my own head. Like, what does a change take? And while that's a long time, I think that you need to know that up front, right? That's almost goes back to our very first question with you is, why do things fail? Why don't they work? I've got to believe that understanding of what that investment's going to look like, not just the financial, but the time. People probably think, oh, I just hit this button and now it's all good.
One of the slides that you had up was about communication, and that to me is the key to everything. Without communication, missions fail, and plans fail, and programs fail. And if you aren't communicating internally, externally with everybody that needs to on a timely basis, it's going to back up, and then people are going to resent others. And eventually it's just going to be a failed product. And that's the last thing that we ever want to do.
Right. Right. Interesting. What's been just whether you're thinking about making a change, there's so many platforms that the nonprofit sector manages, from programming to donor stewardship, to obviously accounting and finance. This is not a one-off thing. This is how we're navigating modern management of our nonprofits. And so this has been a fabulous conversation to kind of get us thinking about where we need to go. Now, for sure, as I said in the very beginning, if I was in a rowboat and it was a rocky sea and I'm rowing myself towards change, I'm grabbing the two of you with your life jackets to help me out, because this has been really interesting. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Not a problem.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Okay, now I mentioned at the top of the show how I had come to meet both of you, and that was at Innovate. I want to spend a few minutes that we have left chatting about that. Innovate is a really interesting opportunity that JMT Consulting puts on. This year, it's going to be in Washington, D.C., May 4th through 6th. Dagi, can you talk to us a little bit about what to expect?
Yes. So the May 4th is our pre-conference day. So anybody that wants more in-depth training, specialized training, for example, on regular trainings, when you go live, yeah, we teach you how to do financial reports and all that, but we don't have time to go into the some of the extra functionality that the software has. And so the pre-conference day is we really dig deep into the training. So if you want hands-on, in-depth, very in-depth training, that's the pre-conference day. And then the other 2 days, the regular conference days, is sessions on the software. We have usually 4 different tracks, but it's not just the different softwares. It's also sessions on running a not-for-profit. What are some of the I can't say that word, sorry.
Legislative issues.
Yeah, issues that are coming up. What are some of the changes that are coming up? Management, from a management perspective, there's sessions on that. So it's different every year, but it's really designed to help the users and the managers and the CEOs and all the upper management to get more in depth, and then also for us to meet them in person and for them to meet us in person.
Yeah. Brady, it's a really interesting opportunity to get a lot of thought leadership. I feel you meet people from all over, not just the US, but really the world. And you really get to learn about how to lead a team, I think, in these cases. You've had some amazing speakers talk about their own journeys. So it's not just a fintech conference, is it?
Not at all. It's a little of everything. We'll even bring in CPA firms and talk about the current climate of accounting and just in general. And some of our leadership, or they brought in some of the guest speakers that we have. I think they're on our website now. She has been in the rodeos for years. She is a handicap. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Amber Lynn, I think is her first name, but she's going to be one of our keynote speakers, and she has done a fantastic job all over the world speaking, bringing her position in, and just her time with the nonprofit space as well.
Yeah. I think it's been great. I know I've been very privileged to be at 2 of them. And I find that one of the things that's so interesting is that people in nonprofit finance and accounting, a lot of times they lead very solitary lives. They don't have a lot of people that share their world and feel their pain and their joy, right? Because they're such a specific class of people and leaders. And it's really cool to see all these people come together and kind of, if you will, meet their tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me has been really a cool thing to see. So Innovate 2026 will be held in DC May 4th through 6th. I believe registration just opened up this week. So you can go online. And this conference does sell out. So check out what they do. Every conference is different. I believe you're going to have a fun walk run in this year, which is going to be kind of fun. You have some sort of connecting point to a nonprofit that's from the community. Innovate goes all over the country. It's not always in the same place. So you get to learn from different people. So anyway, I hope that you take a look at that. Wow, this has been really fun. I've really enjoyed having both of you on. Brady Haslebacher, Director of Program Management at JMT Consulting, excuse me, joined by Dagi, Stanton, Manager of Education Services, also at JMT Consulting. If you want to learn more about what they're doing and what's going on over at JMT, log into jmtconsulting.com and you'll get to meet even more of the team over there. Again, we have amazing partners with us, and that includes JMT, along with Fundraisers Friday, Your Part-Time Controller, Interim Executives Academy, Holdings Nonprofit Banking Boutique, American Nonprofit Academy, and Bloomerang. As we end each and every episode of the Nonprofit Show, we leave with this message, and that is to stay well so you can do well.